Hi everyone. In this lesson, we are going to be learning how to generate data sets with ChatGPT. You don't want to waste time trying to look for free data sets that are not related to what you are doing, while also trying not to infringe on anyone's copyright. And trust me, it could be time consuming trying to create your own data set from the scratch, especially when you have to deal with large range of values or you are trying to practice with large numbers. So while trying to do that, we're also going to be familiarizing ourselves with this simple interface. Now, on the left pane, you will see a sidebar here. On this sidebar, it contains all of ChatGPT's extensions and all of your previous prompts. Trust me, anytime you are using ChatGPT, now it does not usually wipe off your prompts, even though you may not be seeing it. It's actually saving all of your prompts, so you can always go back to it and look at your previous prompts if there is any need for you to do that. So if you look at this pane where you see ask anything, now this is actually where we enter what we refer to as prompts. Now, a prompt is actually a command or a request that specifies what you want a large language model like ChatGPT and others to do for you. So I also want you to note that the more detailed your prompt is, the more accurate your result is going to be. So it's very important to start writing your prompts by also giving it some context. Now, very quickly, we are going to be looking at how we can be able to use ChatGPT to generate our data sets. Now, I've already written quite a few of the data sets, so I may not be repeating some of these steps, but let me just show us a few things from this particular pane. Now, if I'm writing or generating a prompt, like I said, it's very important to give it some context. Now, look at this prompt that I write here. I said, I'm a data detective. Help me generate a data set that can be used in a pivot table. Please use data related to tech products sales. I would like at least 1,000 rows of data in a tabular format. Now, if I didn't specify the number of rows I want, it could just generate maybe 20, 50, or 100. So it's also very important for me to indicate what the number of rows that I want. And also note that you are limited to the number of prompts that you can enter on ChatGPT in a day if you are using a free version. So you do yourself some good by trying to be very specific so that you won't want to be wasting prompts. That is if you are not using a pro version. And one thing I also want you to know is that you can break your text into paragraphs. And if you want to do that, anytime you are trying to break your text into paragraph, if you are toggling on the text now, you want to go into a new line. So in trying to do that, you always need to hold shift and press enter. Shift and enter. Now it will outline your paragraphs in in it will give it some spacing. So take note of that. But if you press enter, it will just send in your prompt and you wouldn't like it that particular way. So I'm going to show us uh, the prompts that I made concerning some data sets that I used in my previous tutorials. So I think this is the particular data set that I used. This is student data set. Now, let me just show us the prompt. I will also take us to Excel where it gave me what I was looking for and the kind of things that I actually tailored my prompts for it to give me. Now look at this prompt. I said I need a data set of 200 rows with names of students, their PH codes, scores of results in 5 courses, namely Excel, PowerPoint, Word, Python, SQL. I said it should also give me an empty column with average, rank, and grades where I can make my calculations. So I want to leave those 3 rows for me to do my calculations with in order to make my practice. Now, it was able to help me generate those 200 data sets like you have seen here, which I will show us in a jiffy. Now, but there are a few things that I also note when it's generated a particular data set. So I noticed that the kind of names it's giving me, I don't really like it. It's giving me foreign names, and what I actually want it for is tailored to a Nigerian type of emphasis. So I give it another prompt that it should help me modify the names to familiar Nigerian Christian names. And I also give it the kind of pattern I want my codes to be represented in. So it gave me that. So I wasn't also satisfied with some of the things that I want, because I want my PH code to be in a particular pattern, and I give it the prompt that it can do those particular things. So that's one of the beauty of ChatGPT. Even when it generates content for you, you can also modify some of those contents that it has given you to help you work with. So look at, this is another data set involving sample HR data sets. Now, this is what I said. I said I work in a big tech company. I need a sample data set to practice my Excel skills. Please create me a sample data set of 500 rows that has the following columns. Now, in this case, I specify the number of columns that I want, and I also specify the column headings. I also tell ChatGPT to give me the number of rows. Now, note that if you don't tell it the number of rows, it could just generate a minimal number of rows. So, whatever rows you want, just give it to it, and it will help you to tailor it according to how you want it. And again, you might also need to work with data sets depending on whatever you want to work with. You can always tailor your approach to whatever you want to do. Be it maybe you are trying to practice with lookup functions, or you are trying to practice with some dynamic arrays. So you can always give it a context of whatever you want to do, whether it is pivot table, or you are just trying to, familiarize yourself with some of these things. And note that some of these data set, they have variations. For example, if you are working with pivot table, you know, pivot table, it actually deals with aggregated data. So the kind of data you work with when dealing with pivot table is actually different from when dealing with other specific kind of data. So among other scenarios. So now let's head to Excel to see some of the prompts that we have been able to generate. So this is my Excel interface, and like you can see, look at the data set that I've been able to generate from that particular prompt that I did. Now, if I go down to the end of my column, you can see this is the data set that I prompted to give me 1,000 data sets. Now, if you give me in this format, so I can just do whatever type of formatting that I just need to do, like maybe auto-fitting the column width. And also, if I also wish to convert it to table, I can also do that and begin to do uh, whatever I want to do with it. And if there's any need to maybe do some little adjustments, I can always do that. So you can see this data sets that I've been able to generate with ChatGPT within just a twinkling of an eye. So this is the other data set that I was able to generate. Now this is just 500 rows like I've specified. So if I want to auto fit the width as well, I can select it, go to format and auto fit the column width, and it will actually auto fit it for me. So if I wish to place it in a table, I can also do that and place it in a table, and I will have it in this particular format. Now, look at the data set that I was prompting it to tailor my approach to give me Nigerian Christian names, because I'm dealing with PH code here, and I want it to have a particular, to address a particular point of to a particular people. So I don't want to be having state codes that has to do with Nigeria, and I'm seeing foreign names. It will kind of look awkward. So you can see how it was able to bring out names that are related to Nigerian, that of Nigerians for me. So this data set is just having 200 rows. So look at my PH code. This is the kind of pattern that I want it to. So I need to tailor it. I need to give it the prompt that it requires for it to be able to give me this particular prompts. So I asked it to give me 5 different courses and 3 empty rows of average, rank, and grade. Now the rows are actually empty. As you can see, I'm actually the one that's input the formulas that was able to help me get the grades from this particular instance. So that's how you can be able to use ChatGPT to generate data set that you want it to have or that you want to work with. So it's actually interesting and you can just go over it, explore it and see how you can maximize it for your own use. So this is where I'll hang it up here. I hope you have been able to get some value from this lesson. So we'll meet again next time.